All right, folks, I'm going to call the meeting to order. School Building Committee regular meeting, Thursday, September 4th, 6:03 p.m. Our first item is our roll call. I'm just going to keep talking right over all of y'all. Mike Pedraza. Here. Dave Palizzetti.
Here.
Brian Sylvia.
Here.
Kate Massananti, I'm here. Luke Murray.
Here.
Chip McGarr.
Here.
Terry Lynch. Jim Manny.
Here.
Bob Littlefield.
Here.
And welcome Liam Lynch. Hey. Awesome. And we will introduce you in a minute. Okay, so public correspondence. I do not recall receiving public correspondence between our last meeting and this meeting. I've gotten nothing in emails. So we're going to move right on to item number 3, discussion update, site enabling pre-construction work, environmental soil testing, and permitting. I made this kind of a catch-all so that we can get an overall update for basically where are we in all these processes, please.
All right, I'm going to share my screen. All right, so first I'll update the permits. We do have our building or foundations permit in hand. We've also received our RIPD's permit from the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management. So that was a huge milestone we're thrilled to have behind us. The final planning approval requests have gone in by the civil engineer with this permit, and it is currently pending the final planning department approval. Again, that's being done administratively. And then our enabling site work, we go down.
Can we just pause there for a second? When
Sure
it comes
thing.
to permitting, is there anything else that we need to get permitting for that we're waiting on?
We need a full building permit. That will come after the completion of the rest of the documents. So that'll be a full building permit, and we're anticipating applying for that permit in October.
And that's on schedule as normal,
Yes.
part of the process.
Correct.
Awesome.
Correct.
Just one thing on that. I along those lines, I did talk to Jamie Rabbit, and he said that he did get some documents, but he was reviewing them for the final approval at the planning level. So that's required before we get the permit. So that's the next checkbox. So my understanding, Phil, maybe you can comment on this later, but that's in process.
All right. I put a couple of photos up. I'll let Mark from Gilbane give a more in-depth update of where we are with our enabling site work. But the first day of school, to my understanding, went well. And the current traffic pattern is now fully established. But Mark, if you want to give an update, you can talk to some of the photos.
Sure. So from an enabling standpoint, all the work is complete. What we're still finalizing is the Rhode Island energy work. So that's the only open item that we have for things that aren't complete. Good news is the poles went in ahead of schedule. They went in yesterday. So if you drive by there, you'll see 4 massive poles standing up where they never were before. Quite a different look for the school. We're waiting on a date for the overhead wiring to occur. I have not heard from Rhode Island Energy on when that is. But with the pole being in, it enables us to finish the underground, which we did today. We have an inspection from their department tomorrow morning, and then we can go ahead and pour some concrete and finish that. So it'll be down to Rhode Island Energy coming and putting in the wires. And then we will schedule together a cutover date after we know that's finished to do the cutover for the power. As far as first day of school, I think it went swimmingly well. A couple of hiccups over the course of the last 3 days. I've been there along with Chip and a few police officers, and we've made changes along the way. I'm sure Chip can jump in if he needs to. Little small incremental things that have helped improve each day. So there's still a couple more things we're looking at to do, and we're in the process of just doing that on a day-to-day basis.
Chip, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. We've still got some things that we want to tweak.
in terms of getting the best way to get buses off the campus. Because in the morning there are 21 buses, so that's quite a significant number. I would say that the departure at the end of the day is working really well. The parent drop-off has been working really well right from the first day. So we're still tweaking some things in relation to the buses and the students. But in terms of the parent drop-off, that's worked out tremendously. And then the impacts are on Columbia Street. So we're trying something new again tomorrow, and we're just going to keep tweaking. But we've got some ideas of things that can allow us to soften a little bit more if like this thing doesn't work or that thing doesn't work. We're going to keep trying. So we're just asking for patience, and absolutely the parents and kids have been affording us that.
Great.
I just want to say thank you to the South Kingstown Police Department, who've also been on site. We've had, in addition to the SROs, we've had other officers who have been there helping with that traffic flow and get that established. So thanks for the partnership as making sure that people are there, and we're receiving their feedback as well, and that will lead to some of the tweaks. If we can't get things settled down, we'll work with public safety officials to make sure that the community and our students are safe. But so far so good, and but again, just wanted to publicly thank them for being on site and helping everybody.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, moving on to impacted soils. So as we've been discussing over the last probably 2 months or so, we've been working with our environmental engineer to identify the full limits of the TPH exceedances that were identified outside of the wood shop. So those limits have been determined. BL has done a phenomenal job of corresponding with RIDEM regarding what the right steps are to take to deal with the soils that have been found. So the next course of action is going to be issuing a release notification that BL will draft, the town will sign, and will be submitted to Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management. They will give us, at that point, their official determination of how we handle it, but the initial conversations with RIDEM so far that BL have had is due to the depth. Right now, the exceedances are between 7 and 10 feet deep. They are not anticipated at this time to be disturbed during the site work portion. So there is a likelihood that they can remain in place with a land use restriction, just identifying the location of the soils for any future development on the site. We also worked with BL to identify and clearly delineate the 2 phases of work that are going on. There is typically, when you have a public notice, there is kind of a blackout period where you can't do work. The area on the site that these soils are located is in our 2nd phase. It is not going to be disturbed or touched until the summer of 2027. So our release notification will very clearly identify the fact that it is in that 2nd phase outside of the scope of work currently. So we don't anticipate any issues with the current site, as the soil that we're excavating is clean in those areas. Any questions? Right. Anything else on this agenda item, Kate?
No, but before we go to that, I just got we had an updated agenda. So we're a little out of order, so I would like to skirt back around to our previous item that we should have started with, is a recommendation for appointment of Mr. Liam Lynch to the school building committee. So we accept him to our school building committee, but we need to make a recommendation to the town council, and then they will formally accept and go through that process on Monday night's meeting. So Liam, I'm going to put you on the spot just real quick. Just kind of give a brief, hello, how do you do? And just kind of a quick intro for yourself.
Hello, how do you do? My name is Liam Lynch. I come from a background of construction, property management. I did 8 hard years in the Providence Public School System, overseeing 55 buildings for those folks. It was a dubious task, but it did range from new builds like this, where I was brought in as, you know, a consultant for what it's going to take once this is up and running and all the flashiness of this is gone. What is it really going to cost to run this place? From there, I moved on to the private sector. I worked for Peregrine Property Management for 10 years. I was their director of operations. Made a change when, you know, they decided to go more project-based, and that's really not my thing. I like maintenance. I like day-to-day facilities operations and creating workflows, things that, but during my time at Peregrine, Peregrine Group built the brand new East Providence High School, which if you've ever driven by there is an absolute monstrosity. I sat on the committee that created the workflows and job description to put out to bid for the people that would eventually be overseeing that asset. So I appreciate the opportunity. The past 2 weeks have been great. Gotten, you know, to meet the team and got out to every school and met the principals. Excited to be a member of the committee once everything's official. But like I end every conversation, my phone is always on. I'm constantly checking emails, so if there's anything I can help with. But other than that, I appreciate the opportunity and you guys accepting me. So there we go.
Awesome. Thank you, Liam.
All right.
So can I get a motion to recommend the appointment of Liam Lynch to the School Building Committee?
So I make that motion.
Second?
I was going to say he got here despite being his principal, yes.
Okay, so Liam was a former student of Bob Littlefield's at Portsmouth, so he's going to make the second. And so...
I dealt more with the deans.
So all in favor? Aye.
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 Anyone opposed? All right, welcome to our group, and it will be formally, hopefully, appointed on Monday night's town council meeting, so thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Excited for the opportunity. Awesome. All right, so now let's bring us back down to item number 5, which would be the recommendation for approval of the Independent Inspection and Testing Agency Award.
All right, so a request for qualifications and proposals was issued by the town for an independent inspection and testing agency. What that means is it's an independent group that comes in, does quality assurance testing for welds, compaction, structural elements as well as site elements. It is a code-required service. Those reports do go back to the structural engineer, who is the engineer of record, as well as to the building department. So satisfactory testing of all of those elements and inspection reports are required by the town and the state in order to get a final certificate of occupancy. We did only receive one bidder, SW Cole Engineering. We've done reference checks. I've also taken a look at their bid in comparison with other independent inspection testing agencies' bids that were received on similar projects that Left Field has managed. Their unit rates, which is how these proposals are sent, are very much in line. They are not the lowest that we've seen, but they are kind of in the lower middle range of where we've seen. So they're definitely competitive. They are within the standards that we'd be looking for. We're requesting an approval or recommendation for approval of the full $275,000, which is the budget for independent testing and inspections. The billing is done per test, so it is not a lump sum bid that they give us. It is unit rates based on the tests and inspections that they perform, based on the work that is happening and the durations of the project. So they really do come out as needed. We requested that they provide, based on the scope of work, an anticipated number of tests. The total amount does come pretty well under $275,000, so we feel that that not to exceed is appropriate for this award.
Does anybody have any questions about this? So I guess we will entertain a motion to recommend approval of Independent Inspection and Testing Agency Award to SW Cole.
I'll make that motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, that passes. And so again, that will go in front of the town council on Monday night. I would just be prepared to be able to, answer questions around why there's no one else bid and things of that nature. I'm guessing that will be probed.
Yeah, are you guys seeing that? Are we so busy with construction right now?
Yeah, we made a few phone calls, and everybody's pretty flat out.
Ugh.
It wouldn't be environmental. They'd be
Concrete
testing
testing
engineers.
and-
Yeah.
Okay.
Cole used to be Geyser, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right, that brings us to item number 6, discussion update hazard building in relation to the Gilbane offices, as far as the agreement and next steps, if any.
Oh, sorry. So I think that the place it stands now is on Tuesday, we hopefully submitted back to the town's attorney in the back and forth scenario that it went, hopefully the last back. And we're just waiting for the town's attorney to review that with the hopefully last forth. And then that will be the end of the back and forth, and we should be good to go.
So it's with Hennius? Okay. Okay. And so once that is finally, a pin has been put in it, what does that look like as far as you all moving in and things of that nature? Are we ready to receive you?
Yes, we are definitely ready to receive me.
All right, and we have all the proper safety protocols, badge swipies, work,
So that
flow.
Yep, and so in terms of the last, after review, gave final feedback to local council this afternoon, and we should be good to go. And number of things that were delineated, number of swipes and cards are in that agreement. And so then once all parties are good to go and give the all clear, we'll then go and alert and start to make that move in.
This is great because it is a cost saving. It's a significant cost savings to the project. So I appreciate Gilbane and working with our legal team and making sure all I's are dotted and T's are crossed. So it's awesome. Does anybody have any questions about this? All right. That brings us to, we already kind of touched upon discussion updates, start of school year 2025, how it went, how it's going. Both we've already touched, there's nothing really, unless somebody else wants to share something about the start of the school year, then I think we've already covered that one. So we'll move right along to item 8, discussion action, Curtis Corner soil storage and field updates. You want to?
So I sent out an email late last week to the group, just for the benefit of everybody. I've been working on trying to find alternate locations for the soil stockpiling from the high school. I explored 2 sites, thanks to Rex Eberly, who has connections in town. For as much land as we have, it seems like nobody wants to give up, space for this. The town does own property off Tuckertown Road, which I went and took a look at personally. It's about 80 acres, but it's through an existing gravel pit. the Tucker gravel pit. And it's about a half mile to the site, and it's a little dodgy. The other potential was another nursery. Ian Stewart, who owns a nursery on Tuckertown Road, I had spoken with him personally about the potential, a lease arrangement or something. Originally was positive on that. Day later, he called me and said that he had decided not to, allow the town to pursue an option there. I did brief the smaller group on Monday or Tuesday. Since that time, I did get contact from the individual who runs the gravel pit in front of the town property, saying that he would be interested in allowing use of the gravel pit for the town to use it, and he also has equipment there to move soil, which would be important for us because we're going to have to move those piles. So I just talked to Mark prior to this meeting about taking a trip out tomorrow to look at that, have eyes on the pit, and see if it would be a suitable option if Gilbane agrees. It's about 4 miles to that location. Curtis Corner is about 2 miles, so a little bit longer, but if we could get that, it's a gravel pit now, so things like soil and erosion control don't become as much of an issue. Fencing is a non-issue, so it could significantly save us cost in that regard versus Curtis Corner. So I should have more information after tomorrow for the group, bring it back, and hopefully have a resolution to this thing. If it does require a lease, obviously I got to come back to the manager, also legal counsel, determining what our path would be. I would imagine somebody would want some type of hopefully low-cost lease to be able to use the property. So we'll see, unless they want to give it to us for $1 out of the generous nature of their heart. So, does anybody have any questions? Okay.
All right, so that brings us to item number 9, discussion, potential action, change order task force and process.
Yes, so we, at our Monday working group meeting, we did review a draft process and procedures document. It is currently under review with the town, just understanding how it coordinates with town ordinances and making sure that what's being proposed is within the limits allowed.
So can you give just I'm sure you've done it before already, but again, just in case someone new is tuned in, what exactly are we referring to with the change order task force and process?
Yes. So a very typical part of construction is change orders. There's owner's contingency to deal with change orders as well as construction manager's contingency. Owner-related change orders are typically unforeseen conditions, things that we were not able to know or understand before the project started. A lot of that is underground. Anything that the authority having jurisdiction requests, that would be anything that the state asks for, anything that the fire marshal or building department ask for as they're doing walkthroughs and inspections, or any other permit requests. The errors and omissions, so any coordination issues between different packages and drawings, anything that was missed would be a change order, part of contingency, and then owner requests, any betterments, anything that gets added to the project also would be a change order. So they're very typical as you go through the process. So what we're trying to identify is what an approval process can look like that is thorough and reviewed by everybody that needs to review it, while being efficient with everybody's time. If we were to put every change order in front of building committee and then town council, it would be a strain on the agendas for both committees because of the time it would take. It also would hinder the ability for work to move forward as the project progresses. Some of these changes are things that need quick decisions. So the process that is being proposed identifies different stakeholders within the various committees, commissions, councils, members of the project team, members of the school team, that would be able to come together on a weekly basis and review change orders, and depending on the cost threshold, could provide an authorization to proceed with final financial approvals going through the appropriate bodies.
So when it comes to the actual group of people who would make up the task force, how are those people determined? Is it from this body, or is it because it is not a subcommittee, it is a task force. It needs to be nimble, it needs to be quick, but it also needs to have the right people from all the, like you said, the stakeholders. It needs town council
Yes.
oversight, it needs school oversight, it needs project team oversight, and of course, building committee oversight. So who goes about appointing who will be on that? Is it this body?
I'm not sure if that's a question I know how to answer, to be honest.
So we have a plan that's been presented with proposed individuals, right? And I think that's the review I want to have with Brian and the town manager of trying to help with that process of who should appoint and what is the process to appoint. So I think we're not there yet. I think over the next couple of weeks, we'll be refining the plan, and then we'll come back to the building committee with a recommended, and we'll go from there.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments on that? All right, and just this one's should be super quick. Item 10, discussion update, just an update around the immediate abutters walkthrough on 827, kind of how that went. I think it's a quick review.
Yeah, so Phil and I, the engineering team, met for the meeting. I want to say there was probably 15 to 20 people there, maybe. There was not anyone there from the immediate butters that, comprised that U-shaped area in the back. So we went through our presentation, and then we did the site walk with them. Not everybody wanted to go on the sidewalk, but I would say a majority did, and it kind of just had us going out in the middle of the field and having some people ask some questions and giving them their answers and just kind of taking a look around. It went pretty quick, 5-10 minutes, and that was it.
Yeah, I think the only thing I'd add is that it will be important to continue a level of frequency with the abutters so that they feel engaged. But I think a lot of the ones that we're interested are going to be impacted when we would demolish the existing high school. So, we'll have some intense engagement with them again at that time as well.
And there was a handful that hadn't heard of the survey that went out to the surrounding neighborhood as well. So we did offer up that we would send out one more round of notices to them. And we talked to TER, our survey company, this morning, and they are going to do that. So
I think the important thing about that, though, is right now it's kind of an unknown as to who was at who was there. Clearly the abutters who we're familiar with, we know where they're located. And there were a handful of people that may not have been abutters to the property who are curious about the survey. And so I think the next time we do that gathering, we want to make sure that we get names and contact information. Because if you're not an immediate abutter or if you're not in the circle, you're not going to get notification. And so if you're not in that kind of radius of impact, then you're not going to get a survey. And so we want to make sure that the folks who are in that radius have gotten the notification. I believe either you or Tony confirmed that they've already sent out 2 notices.
they have, yep.
And so they're going to send out a 3rd one.
So they're going to call out who has already responded that they want it, and then just whittle that down to who hasn't said that they want it and send it out to that group.
Perfect. I appreciate the diligence with that, just to make sure. And then going forward, just to make sure we're paying attention to who's saying they didn't receive one because they may not need one. So we just want to be careful on that one. So, yep.
Mark, may I ask, when you said notices went out, how do they actually go out? How does the communication happen?
So we established a radius around the school that established which properties were going to be on that list. And then TER, the survey company, I believe, went to the town's maps and got who the owners were off of the town's plat maps, and and whatever that name and whatever that address that was associated with that plat map was where it went and to who it went.
Through the mail?
Through the mail, yes. Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now there's a database of who falls under the category of an abutter?
Yep, there's a whole spreadsheet with, I think it's in the 50s, maybe 55 notices, give or take, that went out. And I think maybe 15 or 18% have.
Okay, all right, great.
responded. Okay.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have any questions around that? Okey-dokes. And then our standing agenda item, number 11, discussion update land swap status.
Yeah, it's a process that never ends. I forget what the last update was on this, but the project, the land swap is subject to what they call a Section 106 review, which is review by Historic. Phil had provided a response to Historic on some concerns that they had. I've since updated it as well. I haven't issued it yet, but essentially the contents are, what they want to look at is, what was the process by which you selected the site and why this is an appropriate site, or why you had no other options. So that's one of the things we're addressing. Did issue a few comments as far as the proposed school design as it relates to the hazard building. I've also responded to that because a lot of their concerns are around view shed of the existing historic structure and the fact that the building may block it. And I've responded in a way respectfully, but there's a ton of trees in front of that facility. You can't see it anyway. And actually, I think it's going to expand views when we're done with the proposed building. So this is not unusual. You know, everyone has a role to play. We'll make the response accordingly. The important thing is we just have to respond and go through the process. I had a meeting with DEM on this, representatives. They don't see it as an issue. They just have advised, go through the process, then we'll submit the application. Either way, whether Historic says we have concerns or not, it'll go in. It's for National Parks to decide. National Parks primarily does not pay attention as much to those types of issues, Historic. They're primarily concerned about recreational value and the swap value of what you're proposing. So in this case, we have an existing recreation field, and it's under a conservation restriction. We're simply moving that field to an alternate location on the same site. So all intents and purposes should be a relatively straightforward process. I expect that to be the case. So the application, for all intents and purposes, is in. I did submit that to DEM. It's just one last string that I got to pull and get done so we can get it off to National Park Service. So, Phil, did you have anything to add on that? Did I summarize that correct?
Nothing to add other than we'll support you with any additional documentation you need to make the submission to the Historic Preservation Group.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments, concerns? All right, and that brings us down to item 12, discussion update, groundbreaking ceremony details. The groundbreaking ceremony is going to be held on Saturday, October 4th at 10 a.m. I have listed here hazard parking lot. That is not correct. It should say South Kingstown High School student parking lot, senior parking lot. So do you want to kind of kick off what it normally looks like, and then we'll kind of talk a little bit about steps we've already taken and steps to come?
Sure. Yeah, groundbreaking ceremonies are typical at the beginning of a construction project. This one is a very important groundbreaking ceremony because of the history and all of the hard work that has gone into getting this project off of the ground. So we really want to make sure that it is properly celebrated and kicked off right. So the anticipation is that we'll be in the student parking lot area. The scrim on the fencing will be removed, so there is a visual into the site. At that time, they will be starting site work, so there'll be some large pieces of equipment, excavators, bulldozers, that kind of thing, which always make for a very fun photo opportunity. There will not be tours on site. Site will be restricted. It is a liability to have members of the public on the site, but we will have a clear view. What we will have is a large dirt pile in front of the fence for photo opportunities for members of the building committee, council, state representatives that will be there speaking and can have a photo opportunity with a decorative shovel, shoveling some of the dirt, and it's a fun way to start the project. I do believe there's also some engagement with local markets to get some refreshments, bagels, orange juice, coffee, etc., so that after the actual ceremony, there can be some socialization afterwards.
So I just want to make it clear. So for the actual group that will be involved with the ceremony itself, we're sending out invitations, but school building committee, clearly school committee, town council. Then there's another list from RIDE and from the state. We're inviting the governor. There are different representatives that will be invited. We'll have certain speakers between myself, town manager, town council president, and a handful of other folks. And again, those formal invitation to speak will be taken care of by the school district. It is open to the public. I want to make sure that that's very clear. Like, there will be certain invitations to go out to certain groups to make sure that they know that it's happening and they are clearly invited to be part of the ceremony. But I want it to be clear to anybody who is listening to this, or anybody, in the town council meeting on Monday, or school committee going forward, that this is a community celebration. This project has been going on in this community for the better part of 10 years, maybe even a little more. I know I've been involved for at least 10 years, and there's been it's an entire culmination in the fact that we're actually here is worthy of celebrating. And so I just want to make sure that anybody listening, this is not invite only, this is open to the public, anybody can join. But again, it'll be in the student parking lot. We're not going to be out in the field. But to me, it's not kind of exciting. It's very exciting, and I'm looking forward to the moment that we get to put the shovel in the ground, even if it's not in the ground. Does anybody have anything that they would like to add to the moment?
Not for the groundbreaking, so. All right, nobody else has anything at groundbreaking. So, not with all the fanfare and all the pomp and circumstance and all the invites and all that, but it'd be, I think, kind of cool to have a topping off beam signing ceremony for maybe the students. They could get in there and sign the beam and do that, just kind of under the radar, something Chip does maybe in the school.
What is that?
So when usually the last beam or the highest beam, but usually it's just a functional beam that works, that you can put signatures on. They'll lay it out, set it out somewhere that students can get to, put some Sharpie markers, and they can sign their names and some appropriate sayings, of course. And then it gets installed in the building, so it'll be there forever.
That's kind of awesome. I appreciate that suggestion. So
That would be fun.
Yeah. Awesome. All right.
More work for Mark, actually.
Mark's like, thanks.
I think you've probably done it a couple hundred times.
Nice. Good. All right. Anybody have any other feedback they want to share? All right. That brings us down to community comment. There is no community in the room other than us. So then that brings us to our next meeting date, time, potential agenda items. So our next scheduled meeting would be September 18th here at 6 p.m. And I'm assuming that we maintain that. And if anybody has any hot button agenda items they want to make sure that gets put on that agenda, please forward them to me as soon as you can. And other than that, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, meeting adjourns at 6:41.